This weekend is going to be very different. You'll have to stay home. You'll have to Skype that big family dinner. And the Easter egg hunt, well, it'll have to happen around the house instead of around the neighborhood.
Though we will not be able to gather together with one another as we normally would on Easter, we can use this sacred time to focus on prayer, reflection, and growing in our personal relationship with God, so important.
For religious congregations around the world and here in Canada, this weekend is one of the busiest and most treasured of the year. But this year, Canadians, as you heard there, are being told to stay home and celebrate Easter and Passover without getting together with family and friends. Joining me now to talk about how faithful Canadians are coping this weekend, Father Terence Prendergast is the Archbishop of the Ottawa Archdiocese, and Shachi Kurl is the Executive Director of the Angus Reid Institute. She's in Vancouver. Good to see you both. Thanks for making time for us.
Good to be with you.
Hello, Archbishop.
Shachi, I know you have some really interesting data. I want to get to that in a second, but I want to start off with the Archbishop. Archbishop, this must be an incredibly unique experience for you, just like it is for so many people of faith in this country. How are you dealing with the way this weekend looks?
It's very difficult and very different. We've been getting used to it, though. The past 4 weekends, we've basically gone without Mass, churches closed, but we've been trying to make up for it by technological means, by FaceTime and Skype and Facebook. We've been recording some masses ourselves, my auxiliary bishop and I, in English and French, and preparing them for broadcast. Some other of our parishes are live streaming the masses, even the services today and tomorrow. We've got limitations because of Wi-Fi connectivity in our cathedral, but we are doing some things to make sure that people have at least a semblance of continuity with what was there. But it's very strange for priests and bishops to look out and see no one there, to speak into a microphone as if you're talking to somebody, but there's no one there. It's just the cameraman. So that's very unsettling. But I think it's encouraging, because the first few weekends that we had masses on our website, on the diocesan website, more than 5,000 people logged on to see and to witness. Now, how long they stayed, I don't know, but that's a very significant event. I know that Cardinal Collins had as many as 200,000 watching one of the masses that he celebrated. So people are turning there. As I say, I don't know what it's doing for them interiorly, but there is something here that's meeting a need.
I have a feeling they'll be turning there in even bigger numbers this weekend. Shachi, you did some really interesting polling looking at how people feel about this weekend and how they're going to be, practicing their faith, basically. What did you find?
Well, indeed, part of what we found was what the Archbishop has just referred to: people tuning into watching masses and ritual online, looking for prayer, sermon, liturgy online, also using apps or Zooming or Skyping friends and family to pray together. But in fact, I just got off the phone with somebody who was trying to figure out which parish he would watch the Mass from based on production values. So this is very much where faith meets technology. But also, it is a time really where we are hearing from Canadians of faith. They make up about 60% of the population overall, who say that it is a time of reflection and prayer. And so, first of all, among Canadians who pray, they are reporting that they're praying more through this period. A significant segment of them are. And for those who really look to prayer as part of their routine, part of what they do, as part of their spiritual health, as it stands, they're really finding that prayer is helping them with feelings of loneliness, feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, depression, grief, despair, all of the things that we're all feeling these days in varying amounts, and finding our own ways to cope, whether it's exercise or meditation or prayer and traditional religion. We're finding among Canadians of faith, they are finding a great rock and a great source of support through their faith.
Archbishop, what is your message to so many of those Canadians, and I'm sure you hear from them like I do, who are feeling particularly lonely? Maybe they live alone, for example, or they aren't able to get to their parents who are in homes or their grandparents who are in homes. They would be actively seeking comfort normally in the church or through their faith. What would you tell them tonight?
I'm just going to say to them that this experience of the resurrection of Jesus was something similar. Christ died on Good Friday, and people were desolate, isolated, fearful, and Christ came and transformed it. And I think he can come and transform ourselves for our situation with perhaps the call from a family member. I've been calling some of my retired priests. I've been talking with all kinds of people, sharing with them. And I've even had calls from my people saying, "How are you doing, Bishop?" So that really means something to me, and I know it means something to others. The challenge, I guess, would be for those people who don't have anyone. Can the people in the nursing homes or in the hospital or nearby be able to come and help them? Whether the media can help them or not, I don't know, but there is a sense that we need to be in touch with each other. We are human beings that are tactile. We're people who live with senses, and we need those to be stimulating and help us. And this is one of the great things in our Catholic faith. We're a tactile, incarnational religion, and so bread and wine and handshakes and sacred oil, all of those things are important, and to be cut off from those is very difficult. However, the prayer is at the root of our relationship with God, and I think we can try to strengthen that. But honestly, people reaching out to others, and many of them have been doing, many of my priests have been telling me they've been helping locally, helping with the food bank, helping with sharing with other religious people. I had an experience myself with a local rabbi. We wrote a prayer for Canadians in the COVID-19 program, and it went all across the country in a few minutes, a few days. And we all prayed together, and I think that's bringing us together. So there are signs of unity, but I do say that there are going to be people who are left alone, and it's those my heart goes out to.
And I wonder, just building on that, given that we've heard from the Prime Minister this could go on, Archbishop, for months more, any words of comfort for people who are, I guess, taken aback and frightened at that prospect?
Well, I would just cite history. People talk about a great Cardinal Borromeo in the 16th century when there was a plague in Milan. What he did is he shut down the churches, but he had masses outside so people could see it. Now, in those days, people didn't go to communion very often as we do now, but the fact that they could see things were important. Obviously, seeing somebody in the public square in your town is different from watching it on television, but I think there's a similarity there, and I think we need to say we have to take the tools that are given to us, we have to take the circumstances the Lord has given us and do the best that we can and be hopeful and be positive. I've found great creativity among our priests, among our religious, among our lay leaders in our parishes, and I just hope that that will continue. The church is not going to be the same after this is over. We're all going to be changed. I hope it'll be for the better and that we'll be stronger.
Shachi, you've done a lot of polling over the past few months about how people feel, not just about their faith right now, but about this entire pandemic and how seriously they should be taking it. What are the latest numbers that you've seen show you?
Well, again, it really comes down to the parallel issues around worry and adherence on the health side, and then also the ongoing anxiety, which again just sort of speaks to the larger question of our health, whether it's our emotional or our mental health, when it comes to just the absolute economic devastation that is being wreaked across Canadian cities and communities in terms of job loss, job and hours being cut, and really businesses now starting to find themselves on the edge, as we heard from Dan a few minutes ago, your previous guest with the CFIB. So through this time, you've got increased worries around people getting sick, yourself getting sick personally, a family member getting sick, and now an increased desire to really understand how many cases are we dealing with? Because testing, as you know and as I know, has been sort of the conversation of this week. How much testing is going on? Is it enough? And do we need to start testing the broader community, more vulnerable populations, other people beyond sort of the obvious cases that we're dealing with in hospital, or people were presenting with symptoms and then they get tested to sort of confirm what we already know? So on that front, I think you're going to start to see, Vashi, some changes over time, not necessarily tomorrow or next week, but in the coming weeks, I think as we start to understand that, yes, social distancing, physical distancing is having an impact, all of this shutdown, staying home is having an impact, what's next? What is the path back to, if not normal, then starting to lift some of these restrictions? Because Canadians to this point have been very invested and very on side with doing what their public health officials have advised them and told them to do, doing what politicians are telling them to do, which is be patient, stay strong, and do the things that you're being asked to do to stop the spread. But at some point, and it's not meant in a crass way, and it's not meant to be that conversation that we heard out of DC, some weeks ago that went quite badly around, well, how much is a life worth? But at some point, when you have millions out of work and millions applying for benefits, the desire to say, okay, what can we do about starting to see the beginnings of a path back to work or a path back to routine that is going to blunt some of that economic damage and hardship, the intensity around that conversation is going to grow incrementally, especially as Canadians start to hear and internalize that what they are doing around staying away from friends and family, not being able to go out, as they understand that that is starting to work around hospitalizations, around case increases. They're going to want to know, if we can't get back to totally normal, can we get back to a place that looked a little bit more like our lives did before March 12th, March 15th.
I just have a few seconds left, so I'll give the last word to you, Archbishop. I saw you nodding there.
Well, getting back to normal is going to be the big question. How are we going to do that? And my feeling is that people will, if they've meditated, they've looked at some key issues in their lives and what's valuable to them, they will enrich us when they bring back the sharing of that for us after the pandemic is over. My hope is that it'll be very soon, but we don't know, and we need to be there for the long haul.
Well, I want to thank both of you so much for sharing some of your time with us this evening. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Archbishop Terence Prendergast and Shachi Kurl. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.